16 days of activism against gender-based violence kicks off tomorrow. That's the 25th of November, and calls for an end to GBV and femicide, of course, have been intensifying recently. The latest crime stats that were released this week by the Police Minister, Nonsikelelo, show that more than 10,000 rapes were reported in the 3 months of July, August and September alone. How exactly can society and government now come together in building a safe, socially cohesive communities? To help us answer that is Nonsikelelo Sisulu, head of Gauteng's Community Safety Department. She's joining us now in the studio. Ma'am, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time. Thanks for coming through.
Thank you very much, and for having me.
It's a tough topic, this one. And I'm saying it's a tough topic because year in and year out, we get to this time of the year when this campaign of 16 days of activism against gender-based violence, for no violence against women and children, we do it. But you see the numbers recently. It's like we're not winning kind of the battle, the war against GBV, femicide and the abuse of children. So this year, your plans, how different are they going to be in the attempt to make a dent against GBV?
Yeah. I think the most important thing is that we need to move more vigorously towards prevention. We are, however, still responding because gender-based violence is ongoing. And the engagement, of course, in Jabulani tomorrow will be with men in the main, and women as well as the LGBTQIA+ sector. And the whole point is that men can also be advocates for the prevention of gender-based violence and can actually amplify their voice to other men, and rather than women being the only ones being the agents of change and advocating for the end to gender-based violence.
So you're launching it tomorrow in Johannesburg, and the focus is on mobilizing men.
Yes.
What are the instruments you're going to be using in that mobilization? What is the theme? What is the message?
I'm so glad you asked that. Media is one of the mobilization tools, and it was really important for us not only to use one of the platforms being television, but all forms of media, but also we're actually having a dialogue with the men. So the conversation that is being held, it's been facilitated by men, with men, but also the voices of women will obviously also be heard at that time. So the other one is actually being able to reach people at their homes where they are, because
most of this abuse and violence happens in the home.
It does. The only way you and I know about it is because somebody has actually come out and spoken about it or reported it to the police. Otherwise, it all happens in intimate spaces. Most of it does. There's some rapes that will have happened in public spaces, in parks, in beaches, on beaches.
They are a smaller proportion,
much smaller
in terms of the bigger picture.
Much smaller. Yeah. And so we will also have an outreach initiative of actually going out to the different households and engaging people on one-on-one level in their households for those who may not have come out. But so we're going to use those 3 different platforms.
16 days, but GBV is a daily occurrence.
Yes.
Are you doing this as a department as a once-off thing tomorrow in Soweto? You're going to move on to other areas around Gauteng, and are you building from it?
Right, we have five corridors in Gauteng, north, south, east, west, central, and part of what we do is that every single corridor or district, if you will, as some of them would be broken up into, will have and have had throughout the year initiatives of, one, community engagement, community police relations building, as well as ensuring that we have gender-based violence-focused initiatives and interventions, because communities often know what it is that they think will help them. Communities have community forums of their own, which is very useful, which is what we want to work with. We don't want to ignore what communities are doing, and it's really very useful for those communities. And I think July unrest is a very good example of how some communities were not looted, and they did not loot their malls because of community members themselves standing up to protect their own communities.
Yeah, that's a very important point, because you can't, even if you have government, an elected government, you can't go there and just impose measures without engaging with the community. Right. Are you aware as a department if there are some pockets of excellence in communities in the fight against GBV.
Yeah, yes, actually, there are pockets of excellence in communities. For example, we have rapid response teams in each of the districts that people know that they can look at. Right now, we are, and of course, through one of the escalated or elevated priorities of the Premier, e-panic button, for example, where we're able to.
Is that going on?
It is. It is. We actually piloted for about 3 months, where people can actually have look. You just we're looking at SAPS now. We know that our numbers from South African Police Service, our traffic at metro level, at the provincial level, are not enough, and so you do need to work in collaboration with the private sector, and you need to have those partnerships. So we work with them so that at least you have the first responders could be some of those in the private sector through armed response. So we have some of those that are helping us through and working with those, and we also have Business Against Crime that's also working with us, and so we have pockets of community, with pockets of private sector and civil society organizations. We have in Orange Farm the bicycle squad that actually works very efficiently and that is known in the community, and they patrol.
Yeah, I was speaking to an analyst just yesterday after the latest crime stats were released, and one of the critical issues that come out is that until you address the socio-economic conditions, and we have high levels of poverty, and the inequality gap is big, and unemployment.
Right.
And in that space, the power dynamics in societies, communities are really stretched.
Right.
There's a lot of tension. What is your view? Because while we are addressing this and you are doing this campaign and stuff, the underlying causes have to be addressed.
Absolutely. And a couple of ways that we do that is that obviously we've recognized that it is the poverty, it is the unemployment, it is the inequality, particularly for women. The financial, the emotional abuse, of course, starts with the fact that there is that inequality, and a great inequality at that, and sometimes, and there's never a reason for abuse. However, government alone cannot be the employer. But there are at least that the Premier has already announced 60,000 job opportunities in Gauteng. Us as a department alone, the Premier has also released the 6,000 men and women that we would be wanting who are fit and agile, to be sure that they can add to the boots on the ground, if you will, and of course being assisted by some form of technology that we're going to be using. So we as a Department of Community Safety will upon ourselves be employing some people.
Finally, before I let you go, as we conclude, you've got the Gauteng strategic plan. I mean, the President a few weeks ago at the GBV summit spoke about the national strategic plan, the NSP. You've got your provincial one. Does it cover vulnerable communities inclusively, including the LGBTQI plus community?
It does. We've actually had a discussion and an engagement with the LGBTQI plus sector, and just about a month or so ago, and the was how do we ensure that the shelters that we have are actually inclusive of the LGBTQI plus sector, and the resolution was that we don't think that the collective that is here is representative enough, and we perhaps need to have a broader engagement with the LGBTQI plus sector. So we absolutely, and of course, how do we ensure that the shelters are inclusive of them, because they are also victims of gender-based violence. Yeah.